Hello, everybody, and welcome to our first industry talk session. My name is Szabo-Hemmings, and I'm a co-director of Visability Film Festival 2021. Joining me today, we have Paul Conway. Paul is a sound editor specializing in ADR. His work has won him a Primetime Emmy and 2 BAFTA TV awards, amongst many others. He's worked on legendary films such as Full Metal Jacket and The Pianist, as well as cult classics such as Dog Soldiers and Shallow Grave. He's kindly agreed to have a little chat with Visability Film Festival and talk about some of his work and experiences. Welcome, Paul.
Hi, Joey.
So first off, what is ADR?
Well, it means automated dialogue replacement. And really all that means, it differentiates it from the way we used to record dialogue, which was via magnetic film on loops. So they just went round and round. Nowadays, the mix can just shuffle back and re-record. And so when you replace it, that's what we call ADR. When you use it is because if the sound quality is bad, say your favorite actor is giving a great performance and a plane flies over, but the director likes the shot, then we'd drag him back and get him to recreate his performance and put it back to film. Also, there might be additional lines which might explain plots. Lots of directors love doing that on the back of heads, which I hate, but anyway. Another occasion might be if somebody's revoiced, and occasionally you might get a director asking for a performance change, which can be a bit trickier. Broaching the actor on that one, but that's essentially when you need it.
All right, thanks, Paul. And so what's your specific approach to ADR? What makes you different, do you reckon?
I think I am more on the artistic and creative side than the purely technical side. I think the key is getting a relationship with the actor and drag out that performance. I mean, a lot of guys who do it are very technical, and I've had actors cringing when, like, the mix comes up and goes, "Oh, here's a Sennheiser 416 with a capsule on it. I'm going to put it in this," and the actor looks around at me going, "What the hell is this?" So I kind of take a more hands-on approach. I mean, there are mics I use which I know work very well, which I like using again. The other thing I try and do is bring effort into the performance. So if an actor's running, I get him to run. Sometimes I get them doing press-ups before they start, because when you're in an ADR theatre, you naturally speak quieter than you would do outside. So it's often a job to get them to project more. I mean, like a little example with effort. Worked on a lovely little movie called Mine Hunters, and we had Johnny Lynn Miller, great guy, and he gets shot in the throat, and there's blood spurting. And I thought, how am I going to do this? So I was holding a boom over his head, told him to lay down, and then poured honey down his mouth. So he was choking and spluttering because the honey is more viscous than water, so it sounds more like blood. Other things, there are certain do nots, like one of them is don't give an actor a line reading. Not if you want to stay standing up anyway. I mean, occasionally I'll use all sorts of tricks. Like there was one where there's quite a famous actress and she was performing, she did all the lines, but then she was being held up against the wall and grunting and groaning. And we had to do all of this because of pyrotechnics. And right at the last minute, she did her lines and then said to me, "No, I'm not going to do all those choking sounds and breaths." And I thought, let's use a bit of reverse psychology, because if I plead with her, she's just going to tell me where to step off. So I just turned my back on her and said, "All right, I'll get one of the footsteps girls to do it." And you could almost see her brain ticking over. She said, "Oh no, hang on, I'll do it." So that's the sort of approach I take, is more personal. As I say, it's very unusual, but I sometimes boom swing, because you can actually look at somebody's face and get them involved. and also it gives them freedom. I say, if you're moving around, move around. They're wearing a radio mic anyway, so I just try and track them on the boom. And it's you get a better sound than when they're standing rigid there, like a lot of them do. Other things I do slightly differently is I try not to edit too much. So I prefer to get it right in the studio, keep them going. I mean, some of my friends, I look around when they're editing and they go, oh, it's in sync now. And I said, yeah, it looks like barcode though. And often it doesn't sound great. You know, it may be in sync, but it's lost the natural kind of rhythm. So that's more or less my approach.
Yeah, thank you. So it's more of that person-centered approach that you bring into
Absolutely,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
and so,
the essential is get performance. So, I mean, you know, like might be a war footing and the guy says, you know, get on the left flank. Well, if the actor, he may be working on something totally different, maybe first thing in the morning, he's tired. He says, get on the left flank. Well, you really want, get on the left flank. You know, you want it to move and jump about.
Yeah.
So that's what I try and do. Sometimes it can be frustrating if the director's there and he hasn't got much time. So we got the actor doing his lines, the director, he's looking at the budget on his next movie, he's looking at other scripts, and he goes, yeah, that'll do. And I've got to fit it. So I prefer if he wasn't there, or I could just keep this guy going, you know. But yeah, that's how it goes sometimes.
Hey, thank you. And what do you enjoy most about working in the film industry?
The thing I love is constantly meeting different people and having to adapt to find the way to get their performance. I mean, I like working with different directors, different actors, and seeing the way they perform. I mean, like Adrian Brody on The Pianist, just sensational. I mean, I'll give you a good example of how they can change. On Shallow Grave, Ewan McGregor and Chris Eccleston. Oh, Ewan's lying back on the settee, feet up, fag on. All right, Paul, is it me now? Bang, get up, does a fantastic job. I turn around looking at Christopher. He's poring over the script, sweat pouring off him, comes up, gives a brilliant performance. Two totally different approaches. You know, that's what I kind of enjoy. I like sometimes revoicing people. That can be a challenge. You know, sometimes I work on foreign films and often I've got to cast somebody, you know, looking at their body side, what I think their voice should sound like. What else? I love working abroad, been all over the place. I mean, not too long ago, I was in Poland, in Warsaw. So my opening gambit was, I come to take your jobs, which luckily they had a sense of humor. What other? Oh, sometimes if you go to studios in different parts of the world, you're often put in a studio and it's not for film work. They're used to advertising. So they've got this mic, the U87, for instance, great mic, but it's not what I need. And they go, yes, that's the ADR mic. And I go, okay, so I've wasted 30 years of my life. I like that. What else do I like? I like getting creative sometimes. I mean, one little example on Polanski's Oliver. In the crowd, I got this guy with a great booming voice. I said, right, get up and give me a hellfire speech of the evils of drink. And the Lord shall smite you. And he was just ranting for about 2 minutes. And I just put, you never see him, but as Oliver's walking through the streets, this is just gently coming in on the wind, just to give some texture. Yeah, what else? I enjoy casting, as I said. I worked on a lovely little animation picture called Renaissance. And I managed to cast a couple of voices on that, which I was really pleased with. Yeah, that's more or less what I enjoy. As far as difficulties, as I said, you get studios who think they know what they're doing technically and haven't got a clue. And so, you know, especially if you haven't got much time and they suddenly say, we've got to convert the picture and you're doing a link up. sometimes you've got to adapt and work with different personalities, shall we say, like Clancy and Kubrick, Oliver Stone, and even Tom Hooper. And you've got to kind of adapt how you approach them. Sometimes sheer weight of numbers can be a problem. I mean, on Band of Brothers, in one episode, we had 1,300 lines of ADR, which I think that's probably a record. Sometimes you've got to be adaptable. Like on Children of Men, I got flown out to Thailand to record Chiwetel Ejiofor, fantastic actor. And so the trouble is, we had to convert his hotel room into a studio. So it's a matter of finding pillows and throwing them in little holes, drawing curtains and all of this sort of thing. But that's fun. Sometimes you get problems with money. I mean, there's a great phrase some of my friends use, and there's three things: quick, good, and cheap. Choose any two, you won't get three of them. I like to be fair, you know, if I'm working a long day and even into a bit of the night, I'll just charge them a day. But if the next day I'm doing 4 hours recording, I'll charge them another day, because I think that's fair, because it's going to take an hour to get there, take an hour to get home, so you can't be employed anywhere else. But sometimes, I mean, on one picture, I was having to record Hugh Jackman in Sydney, so we started recording at 4 a.m. on a Sunday, which is a killer. There was another great line, because often they'll try and knock you down. And one very good American sound editor had a great phrase. He said, "So you want me to lower my standards to meet your budget?" which I thought was great. What else do you want to know about? We talk about awards.
Yeah.
I wouldn't actually pay too much attention to awards. Often you can do a little bit on a picture, get an award, and do a hell of a lot on another and not even get a credit. And I think it's very difficult, some of these awards, because say, for instance, picture editing. If you've got a director who cuts in the camera, his background is editing, and he does a fantastic job, and all the picture editor has to do is more or less assemble it, and there's a great picture. Then you've got, say, a director who's useless, absolutely useless, never done it before. The material he's got is rubbish, and you get an editor who works his butt off, assembles it, and makes a picture that's pretty good. Now, who's done the better job? Not the one who's going to get the prize anyway. You know, often you need to know what the raw material was in the first place. There's a lot of unfairness about it as well.
So out of the number of awards that you did receive for your work, were there any that were particularly important for you? Or
I suppose Band of Brothers was good career-wise.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's,
so that was the
BAFTA
TV award, wasn't it, for Band of Brothers? Was it
yeah.
Or that was the Golden Globe, the Primetime Emmy, wasn't it, for Band of Brothers?
That was the Primetime Emmy, yeah. Yes, that's right, yeah. But I mean, sometimes you can get an award and then the phone doesn't ring for a couple of months because people think you're too expensive, which is very frustrating.
I hadn't even thought about that.
I even had a friend who was a picture editor, nominated for an Oscar. The phone didn't ring again for a year, and his wife said, "I hope you never get nominated again."
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. So,
yeah.
So, yeah, out of all of those films that you worked on, what do you think is your favourite, and why?
I got different favorites for different reasons. I mean, often some of my favorite ones are the really cheap little ones. Quirky, The Passion of Darkly Noon, so unusual, loved it. Tarsem Singh's The Fall, the cinematography was some of the best I've ever seen in my life. I loved working with a guy called Steve Barron on Dreamkeeper, where I was working in Calgary in like -24. And I felt honored and humble often working with these Native Americans. That was one of the best experiences. And then others like Labyrinth and Dog Soldiers, just so much fun.
Yeah.
So much fun. And the people you work with, they make it, you know, so like the directors and the producers, if they're good and respectful, you know, you can have a ball. I mean, other films, if you're talking about favorite films just generally that would have been fun to work on that. I mean, I sort of classify, you know, it's like Western, Outlaw Josie Wales. I've just seen so many times. Sci-fi, I'd say the first Blade Runner, absolutely incredible. Kurosawa's Rashomon, fantastic. There was one weird one I saw donkeys years ago, last year at Marienbad by Alain Resnais. That was bizarre. Still don't know if I like it. I saw it sort of half asleep, which was the best way to see it. But yeah, no, I like a whole range of movies.
Yeah, that's
absolutely
great. Well, thank you for telling us all about that. What about the current situation and how's COVID affected your work?
Yeah, it's been a nightmare working remotely because you don't have that interpersonal reaction. And not only that, I can't see you sing. So, you know, usually I'm in the studio, mixer pulls it up, I say, okay, let's run it, check for sync. Yeah, it's great. Here I can't do that because if we're on Zoom, Clean Feed, you know, various others, sometimes there can be a lag of a second. And so often I've got to rely on the mixer to check, you know, and if it's somewhere I've been to a lot, I know the sync will be fine, so I'll judge them all for performance. And sometimes you can just hear by the rhythm. That reminds me of a nice story on a Bruce Beresford picture. Once there was this lovely lady from the Deep South, and she was scared, never done ADR, she hadn't really been an actress much at all. She came along with her husband for comfort, and I was trying to get her to relax, and I said, what hobbies have you got? She said, oh, I sing gospel in church. I said, brilliant. Listen to the line, think of it as a song, hit the beat, bang on, first time.
Wow.
You know, so there's just various ways you can approach it to get, often singers are very good at singing. And it's quite interesting because a normal actor will have headphones on and listen to his sync track and then repeat it, yeah, or say it in time. Singers often have, on one side it's the playback, on the other side it's their mic, which is something I get from. But the other thing about, if there's any silver lining in the cloud of this COVID, recording crowd, generally in a crowd session, I might have 10 people in there directing to do various bits, you know, the couple over there, we want a mass crowd. And they can feed off each other, which in this climate is very difficult. There is a bit now where they can hear each other, but I suppose the only blessing, whereas usually you just get 10 voices all together, now they're all remotely recording. I mean, I don't envy the mixer sorting out, trying to balance all the mics, not my job. But every track you've got is discrete. In other words, isolated. So instead of one track with 10 voices, now the sound editor's got 10 tracks of one voice each. So he can make it thin or as thick as he likes. But that's about the only advantage. I mean, I did a crowd session in town and I was very unused to this. And I had 2 actors in the room, 6 actors in different places, And the mixer there, I came home with a headache just trying to sort all this stuff out.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, thank you for that. I think our last question that we've got today is, as a seasoned sound guy, what advice do you have for those budding sound editors watching this, or even those who were in the sound departments of the films that were submitted to Visability Film Festival 2021? Yeah, who would be very early in their career. What's your advice to them?
I think keep creative, be humble, not arrogant. Don't think you always know the best way. And just try and learn how to coax a performance out. You've got to make them feel you're working on their behalf, not against them. Don't be too greedy with the money, because sometimes it's better. I mean, I've done little jobs for very little money with a thought that this director might come back and say, we've got another one, you know. And lastly, probably the most important is keep a sense of humor.
Yeah.
Because you'll need it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Paul. That was
It's a pleasure, Joey.
Yeah, some really interesting insight, and enjoy all of the films at the festival. And we hope we can talk to you again
looking forward
soon.
to seeing some.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.